it all before. They've heard the promises. They've heard, I'm going to get sober. Start to show them that this time around you mean what you say, and you say what you mean. So I think one of the big things early on in recovery is to start to develop that open communication, and both ways. So being honest with the people that you love that potentially you've hurt an active addiction, and start telling them where you're at in your recovery, and be very open with your recovery, and talk to them about that on an ongoing basis. So, and encouraging them to talk too about what they need, right? Because a lot of times when you've seen somebody go through active addiction, it's almost like your own needs are put on the back burner. So it's very important to let them know that you're in a place where you want to start having that mutual relationship of back and forth, and that you're no longer in that place where it's all about me, it's all about what I need to feed my addiction. So it's important to start to ask them, what do you need in this process? And being honest about what you need with things other than, oh, hey, can I borrow a few bucks to buy some alcohol or drugs, or can I have a place to stay? Be talking about, even talking about some of the supports that you need in recovery. And I think I talked about this a couple weeks ago, is to be honest with people about where you're at and asking for that support. And really getting people on board. And because a lot of times in active addiction, the family can tend to get as sick as the addict, and there gets to be this very dysfunctional family dynamics. So it's important to start to change some of those relationships with healthy communication, and open communication, and being willing to listen to what the other person's saying. So when you go to them and say, hey, what do you need from me in recovery to start to heal that relationship and mend that relationship, and be willing to hear that and to honor that. And even in early recovery, even if it's not perfect, like if you're trying to do that compromise, and letting people know that you're making these changes, even if it's not perfect, even in some of your attempts to meet the needs of that person, they've asked for just better boundaries, or I'd like just a phone call to say hi, or whatever it happens to be. It doesn't necessarily always have to be perfect. So releasing yourself that expectation of perfection, because I think even if they see that you're trying, even if it isn't 100% perfect, they're gonna see that you're trying, and I think that's gonna go a long way. And I think being willing to put the work in, and be going to your counseling appointments, going to AA meetings, or whatever your recovery plan is, that showing that you're actively engaged in your own recovery and doing the work, right? So if you make an appointment with your counselor or your coach or your doctor, going to those appointments and keeping those commitments, going to your meetings, and even talking to them about what you took away from it, and letting them know what you're working on, I think will go a long way. And sometimes too, people like to go to their meetings, or their counseling appointments, or their doctor's appointments, but sometimes they don't always engage. They feel like they'll just get it by osmosis. And I think people will very quickly start to pick up on that. Like if they see that you're going and doing these things, but maybe not fully engaging and being present, they're going to start to pick up on that really quickly. And they'll start to wonder if this is, maybe another false promise. And, they'll start to see when you're doing the work that you're starting to make drastic changes. And I even remember this in my early recovery. It just seemed like I was seeing major changes almost on a daily basis, and things were improving on a daily basis. And I think people were noticing that in me too. They were coming to me and saying, I've seen you've really changed in the last couple weeks. So that's going to really go a long way in starting to mend those relationships and building back some of that credibility that people tend to lose in active addiction. So yeah, those are really the key things I think that you want to be working on if you want to mend those relationships that were hurt in active addiction. And it's definitely not something that's easy. It takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of time and patience, and there's a lot to be said for even doing family therapy and group therapy to really start to heal some of those dysfunctional dynamics. And that's something that comes up over and over again in a lot of the research I've done and a lot of the studying I've done, is that it's beneficial for both sides to learn what's going on for that the other person, and even having that objective third party in the room to get those conversations going and flowing, and giving the person in recovery and the family tools to start to build trust again, get that effective communication going on again, because the family and the person in recovery, they weren't on the same page, and they didn't get together and do that family therapy. So I really think that it's absolutely important to for each person to get their own individual coaching, counseling, whatever. I'm really a proponent of is, everybody has to do the work. And, I'm sorry I couldn't give you guys better news that, it's an easy thing to do. It's not. Sorry about that. Sorry about the bad news there. But yeah, and if any of you want some more information on healing some of those relationships, some of those broken relationships, feel free to contact me. I'll post my contact information in the comment section after I'm done the video. So, and I know it's